चेत् कर्मणस्ते मता बुद्धिर्जनार्दन तत्किं कर्मणि घोरे माम् नियोजयसि केशव व्यामिश्रेणेव वाक्येन बुद्धिं मोहयसीव मे तदेकं वद निश्चित्य येन श्रेयोऽहमाप्नुयाम् श्रीभगवानुवाच लोकेऽस्मिन् द्विविधा निष्ठा पुरा प्रोक्ता मया नघ ज्ञानयोगेन साङ्ख्यानां कर्मयोगेन योगिनां न कर्मणामनारम्भात् नैष्कर्म्यं पुरुषोऽश्नुते न च सन्न्यसनादेव सिद्धिं समधिगच्छति ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. Like it was mentioned yesterday, we should not even be having today's class. We should have finished the Bhagavad Gita totally, fully. Why? Because everything in the Veda and Vedanta has already been taught. Nature of Atma, taught or not taught? Check. And then what else? That the Atma is indestructible, thought? Yes. And then all these feelings that Arjuna is having has nothing to do with the Atma. Was that taught? Yes. And what is the kind of life that one has to lead in order to make the truth of the Atma be well assimilated? That was also fully taught. What is that called? Karma Yoga. That was also taught completely. So what is left? Nothing. All that is left is for Arjuna to fight and nothing more to study here. It's done. But this is not a belief. What is this? Samvada. Samvada means dialogue. A special kind of a dialogue between the teacher and the student. And so here, this is why there is conversations. Every Upanishad is presented in the form of a dialogue. Sometimes we know the names of the teachers and the students. In Prashnopanishad, we know that there are 6 disciples, but we don't know their names. We know that name of the teacher. His name is what? Pippalada. Pippalam Atti, lived on berries. That's why he got the name. Pippalada. And then sometimes we know the name of the teacher and the student, like in which Upanishad? Mundaka. Case in point. Kathopanishad and Kaivalyopanishad. In all of them, we know the names of the teachers and the students. And then 6th chapter Chandogya Upanishad we know. And then sometimes we don't know the names of either the teachers or the students, like in the Taittiriya Upanishad, so many places in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, etc. So here, to show us that this is not a dialogue, not a monologue, this is a dialogue, a very hallowed, sacred dialogue, and we'll see how. And then the teaching cannot proceed if there is doubt. There are many kinds of questions that can be asked. Like when he said, he means Arjuna. When Arjuna said, Sthita prajnasya ka bhasha, how does the person of knowledge stay, walk, sit, talk? That was out of a curiosity of not knowing. That was that. But here, when he asked this question we just chanted, it is not curiosity, he is not understood. It's very clear, it's a different kind of thing. This question is born of sandeha, samshaya, doubt. So it is not a prashna as much as it is a sandeha or a samshaya. Samshaya means doubt. And doubt makes the knowledge stop in its tracks, because one keeps thinking about that, one has to resolve the doubt to go further. And so, in that spirit, Arjuna asks a question. Jyayasi chet karmanaha te mata chet, in your opinion, if buddhi jyayasi. Buddhi here is not buddhi. Buddhi here is knowledge of the Atma. Knowledge of the Atma here is called buddhi. Jyayasi means better, more superior. Jyayas, masculine. Jyayasi, feminine. Why is it feminine? Because it is qualifying the word buddhi. Jyayasi buddhi. Te mata chet, if in your opinion, buddhi here, what does it mean? Knowledge. Atma, knowledge. If self-knowledge is superior to what? Karmanaha. Superior than karma. Okay? More superior than karma. He Janardana. O Lord Krishna. Janardana is the name of Lord Krishna. O Lord Krishna, if you think, in your opinion, if you think that this knowledge of the self is far more superior to what? Karma, action. Tatah kim ghore karmani mam niyojayasi he Keshava. How come, if that is the case, then how come you are asking me, niyojayasi, arranging for me to fight a terrible war? Ghora means terrible, horrible. You are asking me to fight this really bloody and, in my opinion, unnecessary war. Not in my opinion, I am talking as Arjuna. Okay, yeah. In Arjuna's opinion, it's a totally unnecessary war. Why should I fight this war? I've already told you, Duryodhana is my BFF, even though he doesn't behave like this. I already told you. And so therefore, why are you making me fight this war? This war I don't want to fight. But you are forcing me to fight this war. And yet you say, knowledge is superior to action. Then you are making me fight this terrible action. Not fair. Not fair. It's like a person who has diabetes goes to the doctor. And the doctor says, eat more laddus. What you had for lunch? Okay. Eat more laddus. What? This doesn't make any sense. This makes no sense at all. This is contradictory, correct? Here I go to the doctor to manage my diabetes, and the diabetes doctor says, please eat some more sweet things and have extra sugar in your coffee. This does not make any sense. And therefore it is totally contradictory. And Arjuna is already on the brink of sannyasa, as we saw last time. And what kind of a sannyasa is it? It is born of a kind of a selective vairagya, of not liking how the things are going on in one's life. This kind of a SS, selective sannyasa, doesn't work. Just because I don't want this particular thing, therefore I am going to take sannyasa, I am going to renounce everything, and I am going to take sannyasa because I don't like what I have to face. Pujya Swamiji used to always say, people used to go to him, brahmacharis, and say, I have finished the 3-year course, I have been living like a brahmachari for this many years, when am I going to get sannyasa, Swamiji? And Pujya Swamiji used to say, when you stop wanting it, then it will come. This is exactly Arjuna's predicament. He is not in love with sannyasa, don't get me wrong. He wants knowledge, he wants shreyas, he wants moksha. Yes, he is in love with moksha. And he thinks, it's a mistake. Mistakenly he thinks, if I qualify for sannyasa and if I take sannyasa, moksha will come faster. This is the notion that has to be completely driven out of his psyche, totally and fully driven out of his psyche. This is exactly the notion that has to be put out simply because it is just plain wrong. Sannyasa and moksha don't have anything to do with one another. Why? Because sannyasa is a lifestyle. What is it a lifestyle of? Studying all the time. Karma yoga, as we are going to discover, is also a lifestyle of what? Growing emotionally all the time. That is the commitment. Both of them are focused on knowledge. Knowledge redeems. And so here, this is what he says. Knowledge redeems, and he confuses knowledge with sannyasa. And he says, I want to become a jnani. And then here, you are asking me to do this terrible karma. It's like a person who has just finished high school and who says, I want to do PhD, but my parents are forcing me to enroll in college. How can you do PhD without college? One is the cause of the other, and this is not properly understood, hence the question. This is how the question comes. The question comes because of improper understanding of both knowledge and action. Action binds. Who does the action bind? Action binds the one who thinks, I am an actor. The one who is wedded not to action, but to the notion of doership. I am the agent of action, the one who has this bhrama. Bhrama means false knowledge, wrong knowledge, as opposed to prama means correct knowledge. And in Tamil, if you write, both look the same. Because very few consonants are there. Prama and Brahma. Brahma means the mind is wandering everywhere. Delusion. Prama means knowledge. Ma means knowledge. Prama means total clarity. So here, out of Brahma, not Prama, what does Arjuna think? That knowledge frees. And knowledge, in order to have this knowledge, what should I do? Become a sannyasi right now. Sannyasi is equated to knowledge from the ancient times. And that's why sannyasa is not given to everybody easily. One has to qualify for that. And otherwise, there would be sannyasis getting a bad name for everybody. That's what would happen. Because you can't give somebody sannyasa who hasn't fully managed raga and dvesha. So sannyasi full of raga dvesha will stick out in the society like a sore thumb. So therefore, action binds the one who thinks I am an actor. This is due to what? Wrong knowledge called Brahma. Action does not bind the one who has outgrown the notion of doership. How can it bind? Either the person is a karma yogi and the person says, Ishvara is the actor. I am not the actor. Ishvara is the giver of the fruits of results. I am not the actor. Ishvara is the actor. If one is a karma yogi, one will say that. Or if one is a sadhu who has studied, one is a jnani, then the jnani will say, what action, what actor? It's all just happening. I'm just right here, right now. I'm not doing anything. Why? Because my nature is Satchidananda, Satchidanandam Brahma. And what does Brahman do? Nothing. So since I am Brahman, I am also not doing anything. This is exactly how the distinction between action and knowledge is. And Arjuna has missed the boat, not understood it. Further he says, Vyamishreneva vakyena, look at verse number 2. Vyamishrena eva vakyena buddhim mohayasi iva me. Mishra means what? Mix up. Mix up is Mishra. Mishrena, by a mix up. Vyamishrena, V plus A plus Mishrena, Vyamishrena, two prefixes. Asamantat, Visheshena, so it looks like through mixed up sentences, Vakyena, through a mixed up sentence. Buddhim mohayasi, iva me buddhim, my buddhi, you are confusing, mohayasi, you are deluding my buddhi. What a thing to say to the teacher. You are mixed up and you are talking in a mixed up way and you are confusing me. Where is the Shraddha? Where is the Bhakti? Where is the giving the benefit of doubt to the teacher? It's all there in one small word. What is that? Iva. That Iva changes everything. Iva brings in Shraddha, Iva brings in Bhakti, Iva brings in proper attitude. And when you put this Iva, the meaning totally changes. It's as though I am confused by your words. This is how we would translate. It is as though your words, I am confused. I feel deluded. It's not that you said the wrong things. The onus is on me. In fact, that's how it is in Vedanta. If the student doesn't understand, whose problem is it? Student's problem. The student understands and gains the knowledge. Whose credit, to whom does the credit go? Guru. Not fair, but that's how it is. So, Vyamishreneva Vakyena Buddhim as though Mohayasi me, Eva as though. And he said, your teaching is going like an airplane over the head. Noisy, that's all. I'm not understanding what it is. Tat ekam vada nishchitya. Nishchitya, having ascertained between the two things that you're telling me about, does karma redeem or does knowledge redeem? And in his mind, knowledge is equal to sannyasa. And we'll see why in very soon after we translate this. Nishchitya, having ascertained, which is the best for me, having ascertained, ekam vada, tell me only one thing, by which yena shreyam aham apnuyam, I may gain. Yena, by which I may gain. What? Shreyaha, moksha. Don't forget, this all started when I took you on as a teacher. Oh Lord Krishna, I took you on as a teacher. And what did I say? Shishyasteham shadhimam tvam prapannam. And I don't know. Yat shreyam. I don't know what is shreyas. What is moksha? I don't know. I want moksha. Give me liberation from this samsara in which I am embroiled. Remember I told you that? Lord Krishna, do you remember? And so now, after 72 verses of the first chapter, I am still stuck in verse number 7. I still am not closer to moksha. And you are still telling me, Tasmad yuddhaya yujyasva. Get ready for what? War. Get up. Stand up. Uttishta. And then you are saying, if you don't fight, you will get papa. You are scaring me. As though. And then you are doing all these things. And then it seems to me, I am totally confused. It seems to me that you are advocating something very, very wonderfully. And then, when I want to do that, then suddenly you say, this is not good for you. Do something else. This is how it is. The people in India, when the neighbor's son or daughter becomes a sannyasi, they just, they get very happy. They hug their friends, the other parents, and say, you must have done so much punya to have this kind of a child. OMG, I'm so happy for you, with you, wonderful. This is nice. And then they will call the newly minted sannyasi to home. Please come to our house for bhiksha. Before they were mad at this fellow because he was keeping on playing ball with their own son and breaking the windows. But now no such thing, all that is forgotten. Please come. When their own son or daughter declares, I want to go on this path. No, you're wasting your time. This doesn't apply for you. You have done engineering, you are a doctor, you are a this, you are a that. Come on. What is this? No. But that one you appreciated. Yeah, I appreciated. It's okay, it's nice as a concept. This doesn't apply to you. Is Krishna saying this? No. But Arjuna is confused. Arjuna is confused because in those days, in ancient India, the knowledge was associated with renunciation. In fact, there is a Shastric adage which says, Sanyasya Shravanam Kuryat. May one do Shravanam after taking sannyasa. Take sannyasa and then sit and do Shravanam. It will be much more effective. Why? because you don't have any other irons in the fire, as they say. You don't have so many preoccupations. You're not thinking of this one, that one, and nothing. Because sannyas, then there are no roles, there are no obligations, and so the idea is you can study freely. Only Adhyatmika you have to take care of. Adi Bhautika is not there. Adi Daivika, of course, nobody knows. So, out of the three obstructions, Adi Bhautika is taken care of. That's a huge chunk. And then, so, Sanyasya Shravanam Kurya. And it was to be seen that people who were very earnest about moksha were left home, men and women both. And we see that there were yoginis, sannyasinis as well, like Sulabha, who went to ask for a diksha from King Janaka and defeated him in the debate. So like this we have so many stories where it is not uncommon to say that if you want knowledge, you will take up to a life of sannyasa. And that is what the impression Lord Krishna had also given throughout the second chapter. And that's why it is called Sankhya Yoga. Sankhya means Samyak Khyayate. It is not this Darshana which talks about Prakriti, Pradhana, etc. It's not a philosophy. There is also a philosophy called Sankhya, but we are not referring to that. Here it is Samyak Khyayate. It is Atma Jnanam is called Sankhya, and the people who are Atma Jnanis are also called Sankhyas. So then, that is why Arjuna is confused. Here you are praising something, but then just because I want to do it, you are saying, no, go fight this war. And so, this is why I am confused. You have to let me know. What is it that is going to give me Shreyas? And hence, the chapter on Karma Yoga has to be begun because Arjuna's doubts are not clear. In fact, they are even more well entrenched. They are fully there, completely confusing him. And so therefore, the whole thing here revolves around these two questions. These two questions decide the themes, the subject matter, etc. of the entire third chapter comprising 43 verses. And just to give a little map, in every chapter we cannot have a map because the verses are too discrete. But here we can have a kind of a map. So the verses 1 and 2 are questions. Verses number 3 to 9, the difference between sannyasa and non-doership is being clarified. Verses number 10 to 20, 10 to 20, yeah, 10 to 20, thereabouts, talk about one's own role and responsibility in terms of action towards the universe. How do whatever I do affect the universe? How does it affect the universe? What happens? All this is given here. Up to verse 20. Then why should somebody who is enlightened continue to do karma is discussed in verses 21 to 25. And the difference between karma for self-growth and karma as an expression of one's own raga and dvesha appear in verses 26 to 29. how to do karma while having a Ishwararpana buddhi, meaning dedicating the awareness that one is dedicating one's action to Ishvara, is discussed in verses 30 to 33. And our favorite topic, Ragadvesha management, is discussed in verses 34-35. Make that, Then verse 36, there is another question of Arjuna, which is answered from 37 to 43. Arjuna's question is, even though one knows what is Papa and Punya, why do people commit Papa? So this is the map. What is that? The GPS of chapter 3. So you know where you are at any given time. 26 to 29, the difference between karma as a person who is enlightened doing karma, that was earlier, and then 26 to 29 is a person who is ignorant doing karma. Should the ignorant person continue to do karma or not? The person who is ignorant of one's own swabhava, swarupa, nature. This is like the map of the third chapter, which will make it easier to look at. Okay. So now we will go and look at Arjuna's answers, which is where he disabuses Krishna's answer, where he disabuses Arjuna from thinking that sannyasa is equal to non-action. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha. The Lord said. What did the Lord say? Very famous and important verse. You have to mark this because it is very, very important. Loke asmin. In this world, dvividha nishtha. Twofold are the lifestyles. Nishtha means committed lifestyle. Nitaram sthitihi nishtha. Nitaram, always. Sthitihi, avoidance. A committed lifestyle is called nishtha. How many kinds of lifestyles are there? 2. As opposed to 4 paths, 6 paths. So many paths. Psychopaths, sociopaths, so many paths. So, there is only, according to the Bhagavad Gita, 2 paths. Dvividha nishtha. And Lord Krishna says, I am not making this up as I go along. In fact, you will find the same paths in the Upanishads. Asmin loke dvividha nishtha. Twofold paths are there in this world. Maya prokta. That was told by me. Where? Pura. Earlier, a long, long time ago. Where? In the Ishavasya Upanishad. In the Ishavasya Upanishad, I had spoken of 2 kinds of lifestyles, which I am iterating right now. We had also seen this earlier. That is why it has to be reiterated again. So, 2 kinds of lifestyles are there. Committed lifestyle, which I had talked about in the Upanishad itself. And what are they? Jnana Yogena. Yoga here is committed lifestyle. Jnana Yogena, by a life committed to knowledge, one lifestyle. And the second one is what? Karma Yogena. But who should take which one? Jnana Yogena Sankhyana. Sankhya means sannyasis, because as I told you earlier, the people who went for knowledge were sannyasis. There was a conflation between that and knowledge, between the lifestyle and knowledge. So, Jnana Yogena Sankhyana, we have already seen the meaning of Sankhya. And then Karma Yogena Yogina. For the yogis, meaning who are interested in self-growth, who are interested in emotional maturity, in spiritual growth, etc., for them Karma Yoga has been given. This is very, very interesting, because the same thing is said in the Ishavasya Upanishad. Tena tyaktena bhunji dhamagradhakasya svidhanam. One lifestyle. First mantra itself. And then kurvan neveha karma ani jiji vishechhatagam samaaha. Second lifestyle. So tena tyaktena bhunjithaha. Protect the self by giving everything up. Very interesting. Protect the self not by holding things, by giving everything up. Because if you keep holding on to things, people, money, security, objects, ideas, notions, if you keep holding on to them, the self is not protected. The self is exposed to samsara, sorrow and fear. That is samsara. But if you give up, if you are ready to give up everything, then nothing can catch you. That is the idea. So this is called sannyasa, jnana yoga. So sannyasi takes sannyasa for the sake of jnanam alone. But what kind of a jnanam? Studies. All the time one has to keep on studying. And if one is ready for it, it's a joyful lifestyle. If one is not ready for it, it's the most miserable. Most miserable. Pujya Swamiji used to tell so many stories about many different kinds of sannyasis that he would encounter. One of them started one agarbatti factory. He would say. Why? Because he was very restless. He was a big businessman. And then suddenly he took sannyasa and then studied a little bit, also went to few sadhus and studied a little bit, but he couldn't handle it. He knew what he could do best. He did what he could do best, start a company, but then since he was in the spiritual line, he started a spiritual agarbatti company, like that. And then another sannyasi was again very restless, Pujya Swamiji's stories. And then he would just collect dabbas and plastic bags. Plastic bags were a big novelty in those days in Rishikesh, because India never had them. It was a very new concept. And so he would collect that, and when his Mahasamadhi took place, they found he used to sleep outside. People thought, oh, he just sleeps outside because he likes it. But then after he passed away, they found out there was no place to sleep inside because it was full of boxes and containers of all kinds. So then the point is this, the reason why Pujya Swamiji told us these stories was not to make fun of these sannyasis. That is not the idea. But to look at the teaching here is that if one is not ready for sannyasa, it's the most miserable thing. Karma Yoga is an auxiliary preparatory step for sannyasa, for self-knowledge. This is what is talked about. Loke asmin vividha nishtha. So first either you give up everything all the roles, everything. Sit and study. And of course, there will be painful feelings that come up. Deal with them. Deal with the raga dveshas, deal with the feelings, and then if that is not something you can do very easily, do not take sannyasa, because karma yoga is far, far, far better. There are many more opportunities to grow in karma yoga. One marriage is enough. You don't even require more than one. One marriage is enough, especially Indian marriage, where you don't marry a person but their entire village. You get married to an entire village. You have to adjust to so many egos. All of them want different things. And then there are all these social codes of conduct according to seniority and who is this and who is that and everything. And then there is how to treat the guests. There's all these things, how to treat the guest. And so the guest comes. You are not allowed to say when you should come, which it is atithi. Tithihi navidyate yasya, the one who doesn't tell you the date when they are coming. And in olden days, no cell phone, nothing. So they would just be a drop-in guest. And the code of ethics and conduct forbid you to say, how long are you going to stay? You have to come to the conclusions after looking at their suitcase. Is it just a weekend carry-on? Or is it big suitcases? Let's say you can't tell. A little more than a carry-on and little less than a big suitcase. You are again in doubt. Then you have to say things like, too bad you are not staying for my daughter's graduation. Oh yeah, I'll be staying. And then that means what? 6 more months, OMG. And so like this, you have to make inferences. You could not directly ask. And so like this, what happens there? The raga dveshas go down. Because all you want to do is just lead your life. Who wants to cook and who wants to take care of the guest? In fact, there is a very small line of difference between guest and pest. Okay? And so you don't know what to do here. And so, but you do the right thing. You do what is called for you to do. Somebody is sick in the family, you give up everything, you take care of them. Somebody needs some money and you were saving in order to buy something nice for your own family, but here they are either out on the streets or have trouble paying their rent, you give it to them. And through this sacrifice you grow. But if you become a sannyasi, there is no growth. Very little opportunity for growth. Better to just go as a karma yogi. And this is what Lord Krishna wants to tell him. And then verse number 4, this is talked about nicely. Na karmanam anarambhat. Anarambhat means without taking recourse to action. By desisting from acting, one does not become a non-doer. Naishkarmyam, non-doership, purushaha, na ashnute. Don't forget the na. The na is in the beginning of the sentence. That has to be brought before the verb. Purushaha, a person, na ashnute, does not gain. Naishkarmyam, non-doership, does not gain non-doership. How? By stopping action. Just because you stop action, you don't gain non-doership. You don't become a you don't lose your kartritva buddhi by stopping action. That is the first myth busted for Arjuna by Lord Krishna. Stopping action. Who stops action? A sannyasi stops action. You don't gain non-doership simply by stopping action. Nacha sannyasanadeva, neither by taking sannyasa you get moksha. These two wrong connections that you have in your head, Arjuna, is the cause of this samshaya, this doubt. Those wrong connections have to be cut. Your brain, you have to rewire your brain because it is wrongly firing off. You have made two wrong assumptions from which your question has emerged at the beginning of chapter 3. And what is the first wrong assumption? That just by non-action you become a non-doer. Wrong, and we'll see why. Wrong assumption number 1, non-action does not lead to non-doership. Then the wrong assumption number 2, just by taking sannyasa, you don't get a stamp on your forehead, Jivan Mukta, living while liberated. I have already gained, moksha. No, you don't gain that at all. You don't gain moksha by sannyasa, and by stopping action, which is associated with sannyasa, you don't become a non-doer. First of all, let us discuss the first one. How are you going to stop action? I'm going to sit quietly. Is sit to sit? Is it a verb or not?
It is.
Yes. And is verb and action one and the same? Yes. Okay, I better lie down. Lying down is a verb or not? Yes. It is a verb. So that means it's an action. And doctors will tell you even by sitting you are spending a few calories. Yeah. Not many, but a few calories you are expending. Lying down also. How are you going to desist from action? Is it possible? No. And he himself is going to say this later. You can't sit without acting even for a minute. And if you think that sitting quietly is non-acting, you are being foolish. You are being in denial. How can you sit and say, I'm not acting? You are acting. You are absolutely acting. Not that sitting is easy, mind you. Sitting is not easy. As the story of the simply sitting Swami illustrates. I told you that story, didn't I? Yes? Everybody is looking blankly. Simply sitting Swami story? No? This was during the British rule in India. Small temple somewhere. And then there was this person, even now there is, this person called collector, collect all the money, that was his job. Collector came and then said, I have to revise the pay scale of this temple. And they were all surprised, they had never been visited by a collector before. They didn't know what to do. And there was only 3 or 4 employees in the temple. 3. One priest, one assistant priest, and a lady who did the sweeping, jhadu, and then she also made malas for the deity. Small Shiva's temple in some small village. And then there was a Swami associated with the temple. He just used to sit there. He used to eat the leftover of whatever was cooked for the offering. And that's where he was. He was just leading his life there. If anybody needed help, he would help them. And they were all paid in kind. Head priest, 4 bushels of rice. Assistant head priest, 3 bushels of rice. The cleaning and the mala lady, 2 bushels of rice. Simply sitting Swami, SSS, 1 bushel of rice. And he cut everybody's pay scale because he wanted more for the crowd. Head priest, 3 bushels. Assistant head priest, 2 bushels of rice. And the cleaning lady, half. Everybody's thing was halved. Simply sitting Swami, why is he being paid to simply sit? No, 0, nothing. Cut off the thing. of whatever you are giving him. They were all aghast, but they didn't say anything, they were scared, and he went away. And then the Swami, 1 or 2 days, he waited. He said, "What's happening? Where is my rice? Where's the food? What's going on?" And the head priest said, "No use talking to us. We are all in a bad mood. This is all, everything bad has happened to us. Our pay also has got docked, and we don't know what to do." The Swami said, "Bring back the collector, I want to talk to him." No, he won't talk to anybody. No, bring him back. So through an interpreter, the fellow was brought back, and through an interpreter, the Swami talked. And the Swami said, it's not so easy to simply sit down. But, of course it is easy. You are just sitting all day. For you to sit all day, we are giving you 1 bushel of rice, that's crazy. Okay, you try it. And the officer said, "This is a waste of time." "Okay, but to show you, I will try it, that I am not doing anything." He sat down. First of all, he had trouble sitting down. With great difficulty, he sat down. And then what? After a while, he looked to see who is coming. Which day is it? What's happening? Oh, how come cleaning lady is not here yet? He's looking at his watch, he's getting restless. And then the Swami just pats him on the knee and says, "Why are you looking here and there? Look at me. I'm not looking here and there. I'm simply sitting. Sit simply. Sit down." And then the newspaper came, and the collector asked for the newspaper and started to go through it. And the Swami took the newspaper, rolled it up and gave him one and said, "Sit. You're just supposed to sit. Why are you doing so much chesta? Sit." And then he said, okay, I have to go, I have a meeting, I have to go to the office and file a report in triplicate and carbon copies, all these things. And then he went, revised the pay scale all over again. Simply sitting, Swami got 3 bushels of rice afterwards, triple of what he was getting. So even though it is difficult to simply sit, because the mind is active, the mind is all over the place, the mind is full of raga, dvesha, the mind is restless, still simply sitting also constitutes an action. Simply sitting cannot not be an action, it is an action. And then the second assumption, what is the second assumption? If I become a sannyasi, moksha will be tattooed on my forehead. Immediately. Is that correct? No. In the 5th chapter, we are going to encounter a statement by Lord Krishna. Sannyasastu mahabaho dukkhamaptum ayogatah. Without karma yoga, if anybody takes to a life of sannyasa, they are assured, guaranteed, not of liberation, but of misery. Raga dveshas are active, but the hands and legs are tied. We are not supposed to do anything except japa. And then you are not supposed to go and gallivanting everywhere. You can't go shopping. You can't go to the mall. You can't go to the ball. And then what else is left? Can't go to the movies. But the desire for movie is there. Desire for mall is there. Desire for ball is there. All kinds of desires are there. And what kind of desires? Binding they are. There is no code of conduct for sannyasis. There is nothing that says sannyasi should not go to movie. That's not the point. The point is that what the sannyasa is for, that's what we have to see. Sannyasa is for knowledge. And the person who takes to this life is free, relatively speaking, of binding desires, urgent desires. urgent desires are not there, and they don't bind and make the person to want this, that, or the other, and to have this, that, or the other. This is exactly what the Lord Krishna is trying to say here. The sanyasanat eva siddhim. Siddhi here is moksha. Often the word siddhi is used for moksha in the Bhagavad Gita. Siddhi doesn't mean rising above the corporate ladder. No. Siddhi here is moksha. So, moksha is not gained by taking sannyasa, and then non-doership is not gained by sitting without action. So what is the connection? Non-doership leads to moksha. Those are the two hanging things. See now, first one says, first wrong assumption that is clarified, non-doership does not lead to, non-action. Inaction doesn't lead to non-doership. Wrong premise number one. And what's the wrong premise number two? Sannyasa does not lead to moksha. That is the correct, wrong assumption is sannyasa leads to moksha. So now, sannyasa is crossed off, and then what is crossed off? Inaction is crossed off. So what are the two things left? Non-doership and moksha. That means there is a subtle connection between non-doership and moksha. In fact, there is not a connection, they are one and the same. Non-doership is moksha. Non-doership is an expression of moksha, but non-doership is not inaction. And moksha is not sannyasa. Very, very beautiful. And then further, nahi kaschit kshanamapi jatu tishthatya karma krit karyate hyavashah karma sarvah prakriti jair gunaihi. Nahi kaschit kshanam api. Jatu, at any time. Jatu means indeclinable. It means at any time. At any time, kaschit kshanam api, even for a split second, tishtati akarmakrit. Nobody can stay without action even for a split second. Karyatehi karma. Actions seem to flow from a person. How? By Prakriti. Through Prakriti, Prakritijan Gunan. Prakritijayihi Gunaihi. Born of Prakriti are the Gunas. What are the Gunas? Exactly. Sattva, Rajas, Tamas, as long as you are embodied, makes you act, forces you to act. All actions come from Sattva, Rajas, Tamas, and as long as Sattva, Rajas, Tamas are active, actions will continue to take place. Even in sleep, there is action, breathing, digestion, circulation, all these are action. They are happening. Sleep also, you kick somebody. You kick off the covers, you turn this side, you turn that side, you don't know you have done that, but those are all actions. Actions are continuing to take place because of what? Prakriti, the gunas, not just for human beings. You see the birds, not 1 minute it is quiet. Looking here, looking there, flying, hopping from branch to branch, we'll see them. We will meet one such bird in the Mundaka Upanishad. And then going here, going there, you see a small ant, how busy it is. And then you put out your hand, where it is going, it will cross over your hand and continue to move. Where it is going, God only knows, but it keeps moving. Everything is in motion. Oceans are in motion, rivers are in motion, wind is in motion, fire is in motion, earth itself is in motion, it's rotating around itself, revolving around the sun. Everywhere it's moving, moving, moving. And then your body is in motion. Even though you sit still in meditation, so many things are happening. Even to sit still, all the bones are in motion, holding the muscles and bones, holding that posture in place. They are in motion. They are all, taut. You have to tense the muscles in order to sit and hold a pose in a certain way. So, you can't, what kind of, non-doership is not non-action, is working on detailing the first premise. And the first premise was, Arjuna's premise was what? Inaction is equal to non-doership. He says no. Because you can't be without action. Even for a single second, nobody can be without action. And so therefore what? Therefore, you have to get over this notion that non-doership and inaction are one and the same thing. There is no such thing called inaction, but there is such a thing called non-doership. It is an attitude with which you perform the action without seeing yourself as a doer, and that is very different from the action itself. More we'll see tomorrow. Om Purnamadaഃ Purnamidam Purnāt Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.